Hey everyone, and welcome to Peter Puts Things into Tears. I don't have any great explanation for this except that I discovered Tear Maker, and apparently other people are doing this thing. I'm doing this while I live stream, and the people picked the Marvel Cinematic Universe for this first pilot episode. So here we go. I'm going to try and rank the Marvel movies, all 23 of the bloody things. If you're not familiar with the rankings here, S is like special, so it was above A, and then we have A through F. This is a very specific example, so that, you know, like, I've seen all 23 of these. I can actually have an opinion on all of them. Some of them might be obvious, some of them I'm going to have some struggling with. I'm going to try and utilize all of the tiers, right? What do I start with? What's my gut instinct? My gut instinct of saying, hey, this is the top of the top. My gut instinct is the first Avengers is S tier, as is the original Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, I think both of these movies are special for different reasons. I think Avengers is this special film because everything came together for the first time. It was a special experience of really seeing them pull off a cinematic universe, of seeing all of the characters interact, seeing all these different, you know, solo movie characters come together. No one had really done it before. It was really exciting, and I think because of that, you put that movie up the top, because even the later movies didn't quite, I mean, some of them got close, but none of them really quite captured that feeling of that first time of really seeing the team up movie really come together. So that's why that's number one. I also think Whedon's, you know, dialogue's quite witty, and I like all that other stuff, and blah blah blah. And then you've got Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy, which I've also put in the S tier here. A super witty, playful film. It's bright, it's colourful, the characters are extremely likeable. It's one of the tightest films, it's got some of the best pacing of the Marvel movies, and I didn't know who any of those characters were before I saw the movie, and it made me a fan of those characters. So I got really excited. I saw it a bunch of times, and I think it is up there with the best of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I think it's the best example of not needing to connect to anything. You know, in fact, the worst part of the movie is probably the Thanos scene, because it doesn't need to be there. In terms of just giving me some great characters and a great story that keeps moving and is just as perfect time, I have to give it to Guardians. So that's the S tier. That's the top of the top. I think they're up there. Now, I feel like some controversy here might be from not having Winter Soldier up there. Now, I do think Winter Soldier is next on the list. I think Winter Soldier is a fantastic movie. I think it's easily the best Captain America movie. And I think this is No, it's not. This is Winter Soldier. Yes. But that is definitely First Avenger. And then, where's Civil War? This is important. Where's Civil War? Ah! There's Civil War. It's right next to it. I'm an idiot. This is going so well. So Winter Soldier, I definitely think is next there. It's got maybe the best villain moments of any of the cinematic universe. I think the introduction of Winter Soldier walking like a Terminator towards the car that's flipped over with Nick Fury in it is one of the best, most intimidating, villainous presences that are in any of these movies. I think one of the biggest problems the Marvel movies have is their villains are weak sauce. They're weak sauce. They don't really inspire much in the way of story. They don't inspire much in the way of presence. And I think Winter Soldier is the best example they've had of that. And on top of that, it's just a really great action scenes. All the action scenes are all these fun hand-to-hand combat, the shield flying around. It does a much better job than the first movie, I think, of really selling on why Captain America is cool and why he means something. So, really cool stuff. So, I think that's the A tier. Now, is it alone in the A tier? No, I don't think so. I think, and this is kind of a two for this next batch, but this is hard. I might move things after I've sort of put them out a little bit once I see things forming, but Infinity War and Endgame also belong in the A tier. I think they are the closest it came to kind of capturing the beauty of Avengers, the first one. They got me back into the overall story that I was kind of out on for a while at that point. I was kind of down with the movies for a little period before this, with one exception, and that actually gets me to the other one that's probably in the A tier, and I just saw someone in chat say the same thing. And that is actually Spider-Man Homecoming, which I think shocked me and surprised me that it rose above the ranks as much as it did. Because that was at a point for me in 2017 where I'd kind of felt a little bit iffy on the Marvel movies for the last 2 years. And Homecoming, I think, benefits greatly from being this more focused movie about a time in high school. It's a teen movie with heart, with characters that are great. They got a nice little twist in there. But most importantly, it's the central part of the movie is Peter's arc of where he becomes, you know, more of who Spider-Man's supposed to be. I love that. I love the moment where he kind of really sort of decides that he's going to turn his back on sort of normal teen stuff and try to be a hero, get over his hubris, if you will, and sort of learn the lessons that Tony tries to teach him. I think it's got a great character arc, and because of that, and it's also pretty funny as well, which is great. Spider-Man should be funny, and I think because of that, Spider-Man Homecoming gets into that A tier. Is that my A tier though? Is that it wrapped up? I think it might be. I think that's the A tier kind of wrapped up, which brings us to the B tier. And what comes next? I think there's a few things that kind of sprinkle to mind with this. I don't know if I want to go to that next though. I think I do want to like go to the bottom of the list. Let's go to the bottom. And I think Doctor Strange is garbage. A poorly directed movie by a director who I don't really like. I'm not really big on the whole magic stuff that Doctor Strange has. I wasn't really feeling it before I saw it. I just didn't like it. I don't like Benedict Cumberbatch's accent in it either, which is a kind of a minor complaint, but I think it's a true thing. I think it's worth mentioning. Doctor Strange for me is the worst time I've had with a Marvel movie out of the cinematic universe. I don't find it. I've seen it once. I have no desire to ever see it again. I'm not really excited for the second one. I'll probably see it for completion's sake, but I think Doctor Strange goes to the bottom of the list. I'm not a fan of the first Captain America. I think the first Captain America is not very good. I think Iron Man 2 is also pretty weak sauce. Okay. I think Iron Man 2 goes to the E tier. I think Iron Man 2 goes in the E tier. Okay? I think that's where we put that. Because it's not good. It's just sequel setup nonsense. The action is such a blue ball situation. All the action, it's set up pretty well, but then the action is over in seconds. It's so unfulfilling as a movie. But it's not as painful as some of this other stuff. Where's Thor 2 here? Where's Thor, The Dark World? I think that also goes in the E tier. It's really bad. Don't get me wrong, it's really bad. But I do remember, and it's been a long time since I've seen this one, but I do remember at least having some humour occasionally in that movie that I enjoyed. I remember thinking Loki was pretty funny. Here's where I get controversial, and this is the one that people are really going to be mad at me for. Captain America the First Avenger goes in the F tier. I do not like that movie. I think it is sentimental in a way that has no weight. While I think they handle Captain America's attitude and, you know, the comparisons to Superman and his demeanour and the way he thinks and the way he fights for, you know, truth and all that jazz, I think they handle that really well in the later movies. I think in the first Captain America, it just feels sentimental in a way that it feels false to me. I don't like Red Skull. I think Red Skull is just chewing scenery in that movie. I think there's a lot of bad green screen stuff. I think all the interesting parts of the story are in a montage. I don't, you know, like all this interesting stuff where he really becomes Captain America happens in a montage, like halfway, 2/3 through the movie. I do not care about his relationship with Peggy. I'm sorry, I just don't. I never cared about it. And I don't think it's a well put together movie. I think it's very bland, much like a lot of Joe Johnston's films who directed it. I think it's a very bland film. I think the leaping quality from this movie to Winter Soldier is insane. I think it's an insane leap. I also think that the first Avengers did a better job of trying to show me why Captain America is cool. You know, the way he fights and the way he can sort of leap around and throw the shield. I don't think the first movie achieved any of that. I think his first solo movie made me almost dislike the character, and then the movies after that made me like him, if not love him. So for that reason, Captain America the First Avenger goes to the F tier. And I've tried watching it a few times. I've tried to watch it since my first viewing, and every time I've been painfully bored. I think it's a really bland film. I know I'm in trouble with that one. I do. I know some people won't like that. Where do we go next? Where do we go next? And this is when it gets tough. I think this middle is going to be the toughest section, because you know, I look at these movies and I see things that I had problems with, but also movies that I quite enjoyed. I guess the next thing I have to do is decide what's the next tier down, what's the B tier. There's a couple of things sticking out at me right away. I think Age of Ultron gets a lot of shit, and it is an overstuffed movie, which is why it's not any higher than this. But I do think that Whedon does a really good job of juggling a lot of the elements. I think if anyone else made that movie, all of the stuff that they had to juggle would have been a problem. Every time I come back to this screen, all the balls fall on the glass. I should I should probably turn that off. But Age of Ultron, I think, has great action. It feels like a genuine, you know, continuation of the team-up stuff. I think this does a better job of having a standalone story, whilst also having a lot of character beats that actually advance the overall Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like, I think the teasing in this movie of a potential civil war and the things that are going to drive these characters later, I think it actually does it in a more natural... All the stuff on the farm, for example, I think actually works really well. The Thor stuff that's added in just doesn't work. It just feels tacked on, and there's other things that, you know, Ultron's nowhere near as intimidating or menacing as I thought he was going to be. Kind of a weird sense of humor. They kind of try to justify it by having it's based on Tony's personality, but ultimately I get excited for a creepy James Spader like, you know, voiceover of this robot, and instead it felt a bit weird. But the action's really cool. But what I do love about Age of Ultron, to try and justify this going as high as I'm putting it, is that final act, and maybe this is because it came like, you know, soon after Batman v Superman, but the entire final act was about saving the people. It was about saving all the people in that city. You know, like, sure, they have to beat the bad guy, but their first concern the entire time was rescuing the civilians because they're freaking superheroes. It has its heart in the right place. For as overstuffed as the movie is, I think the heart's in the right place and has a lot of great character beats, and I kind of, you know, I really like Age of Ultron for that reason, despite its flaws. So that goes to the B tier. I think the next thing in the B tier has to be where are we here? I need to find it. Black Panther. Well, I do think the final fight is pretty bad. The CG, you know, characters is pretty rough, and if it had nailed that, it might actually be higher. I think if it nailed the ending, this could have probably jumped into the A tier quite easily, because I think Black Panther has one of the more interesting villains in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, mainly because he actually has interesting motives. He's kind of sympathetic. You understand where he's coming from. You understand why he feels the way he does. Even if he's going to do a lot of bad things as a result of it, you understand why he is that way. And I think he raises some interesting questions that aren't easy to answer. And because the heroes can't answer them easily, it makes it a more layered film. And you got great actors in there, of course. You got a great director, Ryan Coogler, absolutely knows what he's doing. I'm super excited for the sequel because I think Coogler can come in and just knock it out of the park. You know, he got very close with this one. I think the ending with the CG fight takes me out of it. It's like a really great movie for 2/3, and then it just kind of has to slightly ruin it by just becoming a Marvel movie at the end. As far as is there any more like at the B tier? I actually think there is. I think Iron Man 3, maybe controversial, but Iron Man 3 is my favourite of the Iron Man movies. Iron Man 3, I think, is the tightest directed. It has the most fun character like dialogue and banter. It has just a really fun Shane Black script, never mind direction, and I think I prefer it greatly over the first two, and I also do not hate the twist that everyone else seems to hate. I'm kind of okay with it, because the character I didn't really like or was that excited about anyway, so I was kind of okay with just turning it into a joke. So I'm all for Iron Man 3. I think Iron Man 3 is really good. Again, the villain kind of sucks, but that's kind of just a problem for most of the Marvel movies at this point. Looking at the rest of these, there's a couple I'm tempted to also throw in the B tier. There's a couple that are really close. This is really hard. I think I have to go back down again. I'm going to go to the D tier next, right? There may be one or two more in the B tier. I can't tell you. I have to go down to the D tier. And I want to be clear, at this point, I don't dislike these movies. You know, I like most of these now at this point. There's none of these that I don't like watching. However, that said, my easy picks for the D tier are actually the first Iron Man and the first Thor, without thinking about it too much. And the reason for that is mainly because I think both of these do a decent job and they were enjoyable enough at the time. But even at the time, I actually remember thinking that Iron Man was a little overrated. Like, I enjoyed a lot of what Iron Man is because of Robert Downey Jr., but I never liked the ending, the final fight stuff. Thor, while I actually liked that more than the first Iron Man at the time, trying to watch it again like last year or maybe the year before that for review, I actually found it kind of boring to watch. It felt just so dated almost, and I don't think it really holds up that well. Better than Dark World for sure, don't get me wrong, but it felt almost quaint, once we're used to, you know, later movies in the series. So I have to put Thor there. The original Thor, I have to put there. I have to put Incredible Hulk in the C tier. I think Incredible Hulk gets a hard rap. It's not a great movie, but I like it more than the first Iron Man. And I like, maybe it's because I like Hulk as a character more. It could just be that. I have to put Hulk above that tier. But it also should be below this tier, the B tier. So C is perfect for Hulk. That gives me kind of a place to kind of work off for the rest of this. I think on a similar level to that, I'm going to put Captain Marvel in that tier. I think Captain Marvel has a lot of cool things that I like about it, but it also has a lot of weird filmmaking stuff that I don't particularly enjoy. I do like some of the characters. I like Brie Larson. I like some of the stuff with the Skrulls. But again, some of the plot stuff is kind of weak. The villain's weak, and that's not surprising at this point, but that's kind of where I am. I think Civil War also goes in the C tier, and that may be another controversial pick. I think Civil War has some great scenes and has some great ideas. I think the actual Civil War part, though, is kind of forced. I don't think the movie needs it. I think all the best stuff in that movie comes after the Civil War part of the movie, when it's just the more intimate conflict. I think the Civil War part in the middle, the big airport fight, is there to sell tickets and feels a little bit just kind of, I don't know, fan servicey, I guess. I wasn't super in love. This was actually the movie when I went to see it that kind of put me in a kind of a slump with Marvel, because I felt like it was supposed to be the next big thing to be excited about, and I was kind of let down by it. It felt like the middle chapter in a way that wasn't satisfying, and these forced elements kind of added to that. But there is good stuff in there. The first stuff with Spider-Man, like I say, the ending fight is really good. The problem is that you're a little bit deflated because you've just sat through 30 minutes of this airport stuff, but there is good stuff in there. And it, you know, I think, you know, marathoning the main movies for the main story, it's probably a fine middle chapter now, but I do think it has some problems and feels a bit bloated for my liking. Alright, this is getting tricky now, because I think both Ant-Man and Ant-Man and the Wasp go in the C tier. I think both of these are enjoyable, and they both have problems. I think Wasp is maybe slightly better than the first one, but not by much. I think they have crappy villains and crappy plots for the most part. What I like about those movies is just the chemistry of the main characters. I think, you know, Scott and his daughter, especially in the second one, which is why I probably like the second one a little bit more. It could be actually, it probably holds back a little bit in how inventive it is with the powers. I think the whole, like, there's some stuff in the second one where they'll throw like a salt shaker and then make it big to block the bad guy's path. I think that stuff is really cool and really inventive, and I wish they did more with that. And the second one does more of that, which is why I think I like it more. But the characters being likable is what this movie has going for it. The villain in the first Ant-Man, Yellow Jacket, is maybe one of the worst villains of the whole MCU. There's a couple of examples that are probably worse, but he is really, like, he came at a point where it was like, he is the most generic, he's just a villain because he's a villain, and there's like almost no reason. So these three that are left, so we've got Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Thor Ragnarok, and Spider-Man Far From Home. These three are kind of in a weird place. I almost want to add a tier. I almost want to add a tier here between B and C, where they go. We'll call it the B- or the C+. And the reason for that is because I feel like I don't like these three as much as the B tier. I think they have really good things. I think what's good about them makes them better than the C tier. But I don't think they quite hit what the B tier has for me in terms of actual, you know, pure quality. You know, I think Guardians 2 suffers from pacing issues that the first one doesn't. I love everything with Rocket and Yondu and all that stuff, but the stuff on the planet with Ego, I feel kind of drags a little bit and just feels like they're waiting for something to happen. Thor Ragnarok, I love the comedy and the visuals and the soundtrack, but I do think the actual sort of final act with the action stuff feels just a little bit, okay, we're doing Marvel stuff now, whatever. You know, I felt like Hulk was underused in the final fight. He's got a lot of screen time, don't get me wrong, for the comedy, but he doesn't have a lot to do in the final fight, and that felt kind of disappointing to me. Spider-Man Far From Home is more what I liked about the first one, but just not as special feeling. Like the core arc isn't quite as good, but there's a lot of crowd-pleasing stuff in there. It just suffers a little bit from feeling like it's going through the motions, but there's some definite stuff to love. So all of these, I think, are between B and C. So I'm just having a troubling time deciding if, you know, what goes where, or do I make this the C tier and drop some of the C's down because they don't feel like they belong in the same place as these three movies? That's an option too. So I've got two options here. I decide if some of them are as good as the B tier, and some are C tier, or I move some of the C tier down to make C better, so that C is actually a better standard. I think I'm going to do that. I think I'm sort of re-establishing kind of how these tiers work a little bit, and I think I put them with those two movies. I think I do that, and then I think I put these three in the C tier. Here's the thing: all three of these I think can move up if I rewatch them. I've only seen all three of these. I've only seen once. Guardians 2, Thor Ragnarok, and Spider-Man Far From Home, I've only seen them once each. And I feel like rewatching any of them could easily bump them up, because maybe once I know what I like and don't like in the movies, I'll go in knowing that, and I'll just appreciate what I do like about it, and they might bump up a little bit because of that. So I think I'm going to stick with that. I think this is my final ranking. So my final ranking for the Marvel Cinematic Universe is this. Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy are the S tier. The A tier is Captain America Winter Soldier, Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame, and Spider-Man Far From Home. The B tier is Avengers Age of Ultron, Black Panther, and Iron Man 3. The C tier is Incredible Hulk, Captain Marvel, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Thor Ragnarok, and Spider-Man Far From Home. And I'd say that all of those I really like, but they have their problems, and that's why they're down there. And then the D tier is Iron Man, Thor, Civil War, Ant-Man, Ant-Man and Wasp, which means I still think they're enjoyable, but they definitely feel like they're below caliber. And then E tier, you've got Iron Man 2, Thor the Dark World, and F tier is Doctor Strange and Captain America the First Avenger. Oh, wait a minute, I've got these the wrong way around, don't I? Oh, that's Far From Home. That's Homecoming, sorry. I mixed the posters up, that's my bad. Everything I said still stands. I just mixed the posters up. And I've been informed by chat to order these left to right. So farther left is better than farther right. Okay, in that case, Captain America the First Avenger is better than Doctor Strange. Iron Man 2 is better than Thor the Dark World. I think it's safe to say that because I had those in the higher tier to begin with, I'd put them around this way. I'd probably do that. Yep, so that's my order for the D tier. Civil War, Ant-Man and Wasp, Ant-Man, Thor, Iron Man. C tier, and then I'd put Guardians 2 first actually, and then Spider-Man, and then Thor. Although I do think that could change with rewatches, I really do. I'd put Captain Marvel probably over Hulk, yeah. And then in the B tier, I have it as it is actually. I think that's the order. I think it's Avengers, Age of Ultron, Black Panther, Iron Man 3. A tier, I'd put Winter Soldier. I think I'd put Spider-Man actually next. And then the Avengers movies kind of come as a pair, but if I'm going to eke it out, I mean, I think Infinity War maybe arguably be the stronger movie, but I think Endgame's the bigger, happier movie, so I'm going to put that next. And then S tier, Avengers and Guardians, I stand by that. So there you go. That is my final rankings, with each rank also ordered by preference. Hopefully, you've enjoyed this, and if you have enjoyed this, let me know in the comments, because I will do more. I will do other movie franchises, I'll do maybe game franchises, I'll do maybe directors, filmographies, things like that, and do different types of tiers, and we'll do this every so often. It could be a fun little mini experiment video. So hopefully this has been some fun. I did get a lot of guff from chat, because I am also streaming this live as I record it. They weren't very happy with my F tier picks, so that's upset them. So that is my Marvel Cinematic Universe ranking, and thank you very much for joining me. So I'll put it back up on the screen as I say goodbye. So thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it loads. If you want to support everything we do, head over to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV, and you can support us for as little as $1 per month and get some bonuses for your troubles, get some bonus episodes of some movie podcasts. The $5 tier, you get early access to some stuff, and you get voting rights on the other things, so go and have a look and see if you're interested. You can also like, subscribe, and ding the bell for notifications and all that stuff. All of that does help. Share us out on social media. But that has been me, so thank you once again for watching or listening. I always appreciate it. Keep watching movies. I actually don't know what outro to use, because this is not, because this will vary between movies and TV and games and even comic book characters and whatever else we may end up tiering. So thank you very much for watching, guys. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.